Hello everybody, welcome, happy Friday. I'm Kuja Terekov and you join us here on a very special Friday. We are beginning our summer season here at Trackalicious and we're starting it off with some good old-fashioned, it's not really old-fashioned, it's kind of the new game now actually, Le Mans Ultimate. The GT3 championship here on Fridays is starting. We had so many signups, we had to split the grid into two different divisions. So we've got Division 1 of the Friday GT3 Championship in Le Mans Ultimate coming up for you next here at Trackalicious. Thank you all for tagging along, joining us. If you're a newcomer, welcome. Hope you are in for a good thrill around Sebring here tonight in Le Mans Ultimate. If you are joining us, or are coming back, I should say, welcome back. Happy to have you. Excited to see what the summer season will bring. Le Mans Ultimate, ACC, and iRacing all coming up on different days of the week, but it all starts here with qualifying around Sebring in Le Mans Ultimate. Let's head to the track and see what the action will bring us tonight. A little bit glitchy here at the start, but nonetheless, a 15-minute qualifying session will determine the grid order for the 45-minute race we have ahead. No splits between the drivers. All drivers are welcome on the track for the 15-minute session to try and set their fastest lap. This is Jacob Palmieri, trying to find a bit of track space with the BMW in front. That is one of the many number 31 BMWs. Could be Cruz. It could be Art, or it could be Terrell in front of him. Currently out on track, entering turn number 10 around Sebring International Raceway. 3.65 miles on this layout in sunny Florida. 17 corners for the drivers to negotiate. Relatively flat layout, not too many undulations in terms of hills, but there is no real big sections of straightaway other than the back straight and the main straight, but they're not too long themselves, and very difficult corners separate them with the very, very difficult and bumpy approach and apex through turn 17 at Sunset Bend. This is Greg Catch in the number 77 Ford, currently entering the hairpin at turn 7. Will try to post a good flying lap here in the Mustang. Going through the second sector now, through Fangio and into turn number 10. Right-hander, pretty slow part of the track, and then into a very, very narrow part. Very tricky to go side by side through here with a lot of drivers. As you can see, not a very straight section, but it is flat out all the way through turns 11, 12, up until the braking zone at turn 13 called Tower. Now, the sweeping left-hand approach into the braking zone at turn 15 before entering turn 16 at Le Mans. Lots of time to be gained if you cut the curb just right here and take the proper amount of exit, but you don't want to run too wide to invalidate the lap time. And Greg is doing a good job demonstrating that before charging down the back straight in the Ford Mustang. And we see some times coming through. A 202.475 from Terrell in the 31 BMW is the time to beat. What time can the 77 Mustang here of Greg Coach do? Or Greg Catch, excuse me. Coming up to the line, and he is not able to set. Oh, it is a valid lap. Good enough for second place. 7.5 tenths off of the provisional pole time set by Jake Terrell for the time being. Ross O'Connor going through the Le Mans corner at turn 16 before his charge down the back straight, with just the Sunset Bend separating him and the start-finish line for him to try and improve up the leaderboard. Currently sitting in 7th place, about 1.5 seconds off of provisional pole time. set by the 31 BMW at the top. How high can the Ferrari climb? Running just a tad wide, but still able to carry a great amount of speed through that final corner. Can Ross O'Connor slide higher than 70? Can. Gets into the top 5 in 4th place. The time to beat from Terrell has improved to a 2:02.0. That was the BMW crossing the line in the background here, now going through turn number 1. And a quick big thanks to One Bigley and Dubois for the subs earlier, as well as that donation from One Bigley. Big thanks to the support from you both. 28-month streak from One Bigley, 13 months from Dubois. Longtime supporters, big thank you from everybody here at Trackalicious to you guys. Thiago Dinarte gets the number 44 Ford into 2nd place. And now an Ilpo Ruotsalainen is in 3rd in the 46 BMW. Infante is in 4th in the number 95 McLaren. Catch earlier is able to improve into a top 5 position. O'Connor drops down into 6th. Pfeiffer is in 7th. Escorcia is in 8th. Barnes in 9th. Wright rounds out the top 10 for the time being. This is Joshua Hildenbrand now crossing the line, sitting in 15th for the time being in the 46 BMW. A couple of different liveries on the BMW. This white and black one certainly very striking in its appearance. Dr. Porkchop, welcome to the chat. Thank you all for, or thank you specifically for that subscription. And look at you. You've been here for almost a year. Happy 1 year to you, Dr. Porkchop. Thanks for all you do at Trackalicious. Also, managing a couple of those races. Happy to have you all here. Welcome to everybody in the chat. Happy to be here. Really excited to bring all the Trackalicious action. We were going to have a super huge grid. We have really had to split it up into 2 different divisions. 21 in this one. I believe it's something like 16 or 17 in Division 2. So would have been tight to fill up one server. So really thanks to everybody who signed up, and kind of not necessarily forcing it, but it's always happy to have a full server. So really thank you guys for signing up and joining us here at Trackalicious and spending your Friday night racing in Le Mans Ultimate. Chris Barnes in the Corvette. I believe it's the lone Corvette on the grid. Gets into the top 10 in 8th place, about a second off of the provisional pole time. Thiago Dinarte gets pretty close, within 2/10 of Jake Terrell, who still hangs on to that provisional pole time. Jacob Palmieri, though, is looking pretty rapid, about 3.5 off at the moment, but he is looking to improve. Currently rounding out the top 3 in the number 95 McLaren. As he goes through the very bumpy Sunset Bend, sparks kicking up from the floor of the McLaren, but he rounds it out, carrying so much speed through that final corner. Can he get himself into the front row? He cannot this time around, but still 6 and a plenty minutes left in the qualifying session for the drivers to improve their current lap times. Jake Terrell at the front, Zach Terrell in the 46 BMW, currently in 19th place, about 2.5 seconds off of Jake Terrell at the front of the grid. And this is the other livery for the number 46 BMW with those blue, white, and black flames. LMU getting popular, Dr. Porkchop. It sure is. And yeah, it would have been quite hectic to, I must say, to commentate with a full grid here tonight. So 21 in this split and a somewhat equal number in the other split. We'll have to figure out what sort of streaming we'll have to do for this 3-race championship. We've got Sebring this week, then Spa, and I believe rounding out the season finale will be the Circuit de la Sarthe, but don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that just yet. Thank you for the follow, much appreciated. Hope you're enjoying the stream so far. 5 minutes, 5.5 minutes left in the first qualifying session of the summer season here at Le Mans Ultimate. This is round 1 around Sebring in the 3-round championship of the GT3 Fridays at Le Mans Ultimate. Real test here at Sebring. Lots of tricky corners to remember. A bit of an oversteer moment through turn 15 for Zach Terrell, and he is able to maintain the car pointed in the correct direction, but that is certainly not going to help his chances of moving up the grid. Currently sitting in 20th position. We'll see if he is able to improve on this lap. Yeah, I 100% agree. Driver swaps, 24-hour races, lots to look forward to in Le Mans Ultimate. And of course, the 24 hours of Le Mans coming up in about 3 weeks' time or 2 weeks' time. So yeah, also really looking forward to seeing that real-life event happen as Jake Terrell continues to improve his time at the top, dipping below the 2-minute 2s, a 2:01.999 on the board from Jake Terrell at the front of the grid. 0.26 seconds clear of Thiago Dinarte, occupying the second position at the time being. This game looks awesome. It really does look awesome. Unfortunately, it can't run that great of graphics to really show how great it can run, but even then at the graphics it's set to, it does look pretty good. And yeah, really looking forward to what sort of updates that the Le Mans developers end up bringing to the game, because so far what they have is a really good foundation, and really looking forward to what the game can bring, like we guys mentioned, with potential driver swaps and hoping for 24-hour races with the multi-class of the hypercars, the LMP2s, and of course the GT3s. Here, a super popular choice, lots of signups on the Friday, so thank you all for joining us. We really couldn't do it without you, so thank you once again from all of us here. 3 minutes left in the qualifying session. How quick can Jake Terrell go? He's able to set the time to beat for the whole session. Nobody able to better the time of the BMW, and is he able to get that lap time down even further as he rounds the 17th and final corner? Going up to the start-finish line, not quite able to improve the lap time on this go-around, and he will have just a couple more attempts to see if he can improve his advantage at the front of the grid. Jake Finn currently sitting in 16th place, now rounding out the final corner in the Ferrari. Can he potentially get even into the top 10 here? How high can Jake Finn get? Not able to improve his lap time. He is just 0.06 off of the time of Hildenbrand in 15th place. So just that slight bit of improvement can really find, or could, if Jake Finn can find a little bit of improvement, he can find himself moving up a couple of places even. Zachary Martin in the number 31 BMW, rounding Sunset Bend for his qualifying run. Currently sitting just outside the top 10 in 11th. Needs a couple attempts to get Ross O'Connor, who currently occupies that final top 10 position, but Martin not able to do it on this lap. This will be his last flying lap attempt, crossing the line with less than 2 minutes to go. This is now do or die territory for a lot of drivers. We'll see if most of them are able to improve on their final flying lap attempts. Thiago Dinarte, challenger for pole position. Is he able to improve the time in the Mustang? He is not on this lap, so this will be Dinarte's last flying lap attempt. Anton Rushevich starting his last flying lap attempt, going through the first sector, approaching turn 5. The very tricky left-hander before the big bend, before a slight straightaway, before entering the hairpin. Let's ride on board with the McLaren driver for the remainder of his qualifying lap. Braking right around the 300-foot marker, running just a little bit deep, not quite clipping the apex on the inside, but he's able to carry speed and running it out wide through turn 7, around turn 8 at Fangio, now going through turn 9 into the braking zone at turn 10. You can carry a lot of speed through this corner, going down into first gear. A bit of an oversteer moment as he snaps it into second, climbing up the gears, opening up the steering for this right-hander before going to the left-hand side of the track, trying to carry as much speed as he can in second before climbing up the gears. Fast left-hand corners here at Collier, turn 11 here and turn 12 before the braking zone. Or excuse me, that was Bishop now, turn 14, and now turn 15. Got myself lost in the track map, running out wide, trying to carry as much speed through Le Mans. And now down the back straight goes Anton Roshevich. Here he goes, approaching the sunset bend for his last flying lap attempt. How high can the McLaren go? It's going to be very bumpy on the entry. You can hear the car bottoming out through the bumps, trying to get the power down as early as he can, exiting out wide. How high can the McLaren go? Currently in 9th. Can he get himself maybe even into the top 5? Not able to get any improvement higher than 9th. So Anton will have to settle for 9th for the time being, unless any drivers behind can do anything to change that. Ross O'Connor going through the final corner here in the 54 Ferrari. Can he get into the top 10? Chandler Williams currently occupies that position, and Ross O'Connor, blistering lap, gets into the top 5, and arced behind him gets into 7th place. Palmieri able to snag 2nd place on his flying lap attempt in the number 95, so the McLaren is able to get on top of Dinarte. As here is Brandon Pfeiffer qualifying in 13th place. He will be the last car across the grid, and now we wait for the timer to tick down so we can begin our first race of the summer. One Bigley with the hydrate. Thank you so much, my friend. Take a sip of tea here. You can see the positions on the left here. Jake Terrell at the top, a 2:01.999
for a race start.
For his best lap attempt, just sneaking in to the 2:02s. Jacob Palmieri will line up in 2nd place. Thiago Dinarte in 3rd. Greg Catch in 4th place in the 77. Ross O'Connor, after that very quick flying lap attempt right at the end, finds himself up in 5th place. Ilpo Rutsalainen is in 6th place. Arced in 7th. Omar Escorcia in 8th. Angel Infante in 9th. Anton Rushevich pushed down to 10th place at the end there. Chandler Williams in 11th place. Zachary Martin will line up in 12th. Brendan Pfeiffer in 13th. Jake Finn in the 66 Ferrari will line up in 14th. Then you have Gelson Cruz in the BMW. The number 31 lines up next to Hildenbrand in the 46. Those two BMWs still in the pits, waiting to get out on track. You can see the grid lining up from the helicopter cam. Just 15 seconds left here. Jace Wright starts in 17th with Vasquez in 18th. Zach Terrell in 19th, and Devin Anthony will round out the grid in 20th position.
Formation lap has started.
Right on time for the call from the race director to let us know that indeed the formation lap has started, or more so the half formation lap here, as the drivers will start at the entry of the Sunset Bend and will have just turn 17 to warm up the tires, warm up the brakes, and get themselves ready for 45 minutes of racing. We have 2 times fuel consumption to play into effect. A bit of a strategy call will be necessary for some of the drivers, for some of the cars. Might have to manage a bit of the fuel to get it within a one-stop strategy. But that is to come. The race start is now. They are rounding out the final corner. The 20-car grid goes to the start finish line. The green flag waves. The BMW of Jake Terrell gets a pretty good getaway. It doesn't look like Palmieri's gonna be able to do anything about the race start for the time being. He sweeps around the outside though. Is this the move for the McLaren for the lead of the race? He sweeps around the inside. The outside now has the inside, but the BMW covering off the inside of the braking zone pretty well. They're rubbing the BMW, pushing the McLaren over the curbing, forcing the McLaren a little bit wide. But as we say, folks, rubbing is racing, and this is great racing from the top to the McLaren, just trying to tuck into the slipstream of the BMW. The BMW covering off the inside very well, trying to push the McLaren as far to the outside as possible, and he covers off the inside very well, doesn't allow the undercut to happen. Great catch, great start, moving up from 5th up into 3rd place. Denarte dropping back to 4th. Ross O'Connor in 5th, Rutsalainen in 6th, Escorcia in 7th, Arkt in 8th, Williams in 9th, Infante in 10th, Rushevich in 11th, Martin in 12th, Pfeiffer in 13th. As the snake continues down the grid here, Terrell maintaining and holding on to his lead after Palmieri was trying to change as much as he could about that, but he just was not able to do anything about it. Terrell covering off the defensive line very well indeed. And there is action all the way down the grid. The two McLarens battling of Infante and Rushevich. Infante getting up into that top 10 position, or I should say, in fact, hanging on to that top 10 position. It was Chandler Williams who got a good start in the Ford, starting outside of the top 10. Now finds himself up in 9th place for the time being. But can Infante change anything about that? The straight line speed of the Ford looks like Williams is gaining on Arkt in the 31 BMW behind, but the McLarens, a bit of a lag there. I'm not sure what happened there. A yellow flag forcing Infante into the wall, maybe into the wall. Couldn't quite see what happened there. The palm trees were covering off the action as there was a car on the inside. Perhaps the yellow flag forcing Infante to lift off a little bit and just catching Rushevich off guard as he went into the back of the fellow McLaren driver in front as the Ferrari tries to get the sweeping move done around the outside, but that is Jake Finn not able to get the move done in the Ferrari. Infante able to hold on to 16th place for the time being. Ross O'Connor in the number 5, not quite on the tail of the two Fords in front. Great catch though is on the tail of the McLaren for the battle for 2nd and 3rd place. The first form Mustang trying to catch up to the number 95 McLaren, but not quite able to do anything about it yet in the braking zones. The McLarens looking quite confident through the turns. The Fords, though, seem to have great straight line speed. Got a yellow flag. Not quite sure what happened there. Oh no, a lost internet connection. I hate to hear that, my friend. Dev664, I'm assuming that's Devin Anthony. So yeah, I don't see you on the grid there, so unfortunately, sorry to hear that, my friend. It just happens at the worst time, as it seems, as always. Right when you're in the middle of the race, the internet just doesn't really like to work. With a few laps now under our belts, the gap's opening up a little bit in places, closing up in others. Vasquez in the pits with a DNF. Unfortunate for the number 46 BMW there, having to retire early from the race. But I think it's possible to escape and un-DNF if the car was broken. So hopefully Vasquez able to potentially get back into the mix. But we'll just have to wait and see how things play out. Jake Terrell with a pretty good lead at the front, 1.3 seconds. Palmieri gaining on catch behind, 1.3 seconds between 2nd and 3rd place, and another 1.5 seconds separating Denarte from fellow Ford driver in 3rd catch. He has Ross O'Connor trying to get on the tail of his Mustang in the 54 Ferrari. but it doesn't look like Ross O'Connor was quite able to close up as effectively in the braking zone there. So he will just have to wait for the right time to pounce. Opening up a good gap, though, to Omar Escorcia in the number 70 McLaren, currently sitting in 6th place. Not too far off, though, so Ross O'Connor doesn't want to make too many mistakes to allow Escorcia to get any closer than he is for the time being. Then you have the battle between Arkt and Rushevich for 7th and 8th place. Of course, there was that little bit of contact between the McLarens going through the Sunset Bend, maybe just carrying a bit of damage on that splitter at the front now for Anton, trying to get close to the BMW in front here, as he might have Zachary Martin for company in the other 31 BMW, and he will be in a red and white BMW sandwich unless he can find a move past Arkt in front. This is what it looks like on board from Rushevich. He's able to close the gap somewhat effectively, drifting it on the exit. Very, very showy for the cameras, but not effective at closing the gap in front. It looks like there was a bit of a mistake from Escorcia in front, as Arkt was able to get pretty close to the tail of the McLaren there. And the gaps just seem to be coming and going in certain places on the track here. You've got Hildenbrand being chased by Infante, who had that bit of contact earlier, trying to make up ground from 13th place. He was back in 16th at one point, so effectively making up places here, as he has Hildenbrand in front for 12th place. Will the McLaren look to the inside and dive? Not quite close enough to do it here. Effective defense from Hildenbrand, braking just late enough to cover off the attack from the McLaren behind. It's right on board with Angel in the McLaren, chasing down the BMW through the curvy bits. A bit of an oversteer moment from the BMW. Will this be the opportunity for the McLaren to dive to the inside? He was thinking about it, the BMW covering it off very well. And he himself has Gelson Cruz in front, not too far in the distance. So he really doesn't want to lose this position. That's Hildenbrand, that is. Because he might be on the tail of fellow BMW drivers soon enough. But the McLaren really closing the gap in the final corners before Le Mans at turn 16. And the BMW kicking a wheel into the grass. Will this be the opportunity that Infante was looking for to dive to the inside? He's lining up the move to the inside of Sunset Bend. Can he get it done on this lap? Can he slide his McLaren to the inside? The BMW really pinching him to the wall, but the McLaren just given enough space. But the BMW now running wide, carrying the speed, and they're going to continue their battle side by side down the start-finish straight and into turn 1. The BMW gets a great launch out of the exit, able to carry speed wide, now has the inside into turn 1. Great defensive driving from Hildenbrand. Infante, unfortunately, just frustrated behind the faster driver, just can't find a way through. Qualified very well in the top 10, but just dropping back down the order, looking to make up ground. But now has Rutsalainen joining the battle for company behind, and he himself finds another McLaren finding themselves in a BMW sandwich. This time it's between two 46s. Looking again to the inside of the hairpin at turn 7, but just not close enough to send it. The BMW very confident on the brakes, covering off those moves. Great defensive driving from Hildenbrand, not giving in to the pressure, although Infante is lining up some moves. The BMW was just unfazed, but is this the moment the cross-under might be working? It looks like the BMW just had a bit of a trouble trying to exit the corner, and the switchback just wasn't quite on there. Very quick corner here at turn number 13 as the McLaren runs wide, dips a wheel into the grass, and now Ruotsalainen will try to make the move around the outside of Bishop. Can he get it done into turn 15 into the braking zone, taking the curb very heavily? They go side by side into the braking zone at Le Mans. The BMW goes deep into the inside. Can the McLaren carry speed? He cannot, dips a wheel into the grass. Great move from Ruotsalainen, taking advantage of the McLaren going a little bit wide, and now Jake Finn has joined the battle as well in the 66 Ferrari, looking to gain on the mistakes in front. The 246 BMWs now free to battle in front. Jake Finn trying to line up a move already on the struggling Infante, perhaps a bit of damage on the rear end of the car, and he may have hit the front end also, just didn't quite pick it up on the cameras as it was just under those palm trees there. And Jace Wright, unfortunately, a DNF for him as well in the number 70 McLaren, losing 2 drivers early here. Thank you very much for the follow. Hope you're enjoying the action here in round 1 of the Le Mans Ultimate Championship on Fridays. GT3 only series, 19 drivers. We've had 20, lost 1 with internet, lost a couple more to troubles during the first 10 minutes of the race. 33 and a bit minutes to go here. The McLaren looking to gain ground after losing just 1 place to Ruotsalainen, finds himself back in 14th position. The battle for the lead has picked up between Jake Terrell and Jacob Palmieri. Perhaps the BMW just looking to open up that gap, and now on a bit of a fuel-saving run. I think that was one of the cars that was potentially going to struggle to just do 1 pit stop. So perhaps just doing a bit of lifting and coasting to help his virtual energy out, and only come in to do the 1-stop race, or the 1 stop during the race. Losing myself in the words here. But Palmieri in the number 95, able to gain ground pretty effectively. Losing a bit of time at the beginning of the race, but now the gap is below a second, and he's opened it up to catch behind, who currently occupies that final podium position, with Dinarte 2.5 seconds adrift, with Ross O'Connor a further 3 seconds back in 5th place. Escorcia finding himself in a bit of a battle here. The number 70 McLaren has arced for company, not too far back, and same with Rushevich, looking to gain places, as this 2-car battle might turn into a 4-car battle, even a 5-car battle, as these drivers are separated by just about 2 seconds on track. So any mistakes can be really costly here. Certainly don't want to do that, as Omar Escorcia finds himself at the front of this 5-car train in 6th place, arced in 7th, Rushevich in 8th. Zach Martin and Brandon Pfeiffer round out this train of cars here. The Ferrari, the caboose, as they say, in this 5-car battle. In a good position, though, currently taking that final top 10 position, but we'll try to make up ground with all of the cars in front battling for position here. McLaren is in the middle of this battle. That is Anton Rushevich, finding himself right in the middle of a 5-car battle. Very tricky spot to be. Just wanting to keep up with the cars in front and not lose the cars behind and not lose any ground to the cars in front. Wish I had time for this. We do as well, Spy Sox. Always happy to have a big grid here. Unfortunately, having to split it up into 2 tonight, with how many people are excited about racing in Le Mans Ultimate. Omar Escorcia leading this train of cars. Arced the next BMW, trying to change the positions out in front. Just about 15 minutes completed in the race so far. Within the next 10 minutes or so, we should be seeing cars diving into the pit stops. running out of that virtual energy, having to refill the fuel tanks and get back onto the racetrack to complete the closing stages of the race. Absolutely great stuff here. Love seeing a big train of cars just kind of following each other, just waiting for the right moment to pick off any cars in front, as we have a yellow flag somewhere out on the track. Can't quite tell. It doesn't look like anybody's really losing too much time. Rutsalainen, a DNF, unfortunately there for the BMW driver, was climbing up the order, but now the fellow BMW driver here is under pressure. This is Rushevich trying to make the move on Arced. He has the inside going into turn 10, but the McLaren very confident on the brakes, forcing the BMW on the curbs. There's a bit of contact between the two, but the McLaren gets through and now has Escorcia in front to challenge, and now the 231 BMWs out on track next to each other. Martin behind Arced after the bit of bumping between the McLaren and the BMW. Martin trying now to find the move on his fellow BMW driver. Evenly matched cars, but perhaps one driver might have an advantage, might be quicker in one part of the track and another. Now is the time to study that and find the moment to pick and choose the overtake, as Rushevich did on just a few corners before. But Pfeiffer really looks like the one who is trying to make the move done, forcing Martin to cover off the inside of Sunset Bed. Can the Ferrari get the move done around the outside? Very unsettled into the braking zone is the BMW, but able to cover off the move for the time being. The Ferrari tapping the wall. No, unfortunately running into the tire wall on the outside of 17 was Brandon Pfeiffer, and that might just be a significant amount of damage to the Ferrari. Might have to force him into the pits and fix that bit of damage on the car. Thiago Dinarte in a bit of no man's land here, 1.5 seconds off of Catch in front. Actually, that gap did close down a bit. It was more like 2 seconds when we tuned in last time. So the gap closing between the two Fords, and the gap certainly closing between Palmieri and Terrell for the lead of the race. The BMW under a good amount of pressure from the McLaren. And we've seen it from the McLarens down in 7th and 8th place. Rushevich getting the move done on the BMW as well. Can Palmieri do the same for the P1 and P2 battle here? There's absolutely epic stuff between these two. Terrell able to maintain the lead of the race, but he runs a little bit wide and he's oversteering on the exit. Is this the time? Is this the place? Palmieri taking the inside line. Terrell forcing him to the inside as much as he can. The McLaren trying to get as much track to the outside. The BMW now goes to the outside, trying to maintain the position around the outside of 17 is very hard to do, and that is the move done for the lead. Palmieri through the inside of 17 takes the lead of the race. Unfortunately for Jake Terrell there, it looks like his car just got a little bit unsettled off of the racing line, and he just wasn't able to maintain the speed that he wanted to and pinch Palmieri to the inside as best as he could. And now Palmieri will have to do his best to try and run away from Jake Terrell behind, and he certainly doesn't want to let the McLaren run away too far in front, with Greg Catch not too far off, just 1 second now with these two, with how hard they were battling, allowing the Mustangs to get ever so closer and perhaps bringing them in the closing stages of the race. And now the BMW very close, forcing Palmieri to cover off the inside, and now might have the opportunity to get the switchback done. And while these cars are battling, this is really allowing the Ford of Greg Catch to really catch up to Terrell in the BMW. Palmieri runs wide, more bumping between the leaders, and now Palmieri making a mistake. Jake Terrell slides through into the lead of the race, swapping positions lap after lap. The McLaren looking for any room through the inside, but the BMW is not giving him anything. The BMW much better on the exit of Le Mans at turn 16. This really might fall into the hands of Greg Ketch, as he is right on the tail of the two leaders now in third place. He is licking his lips at any opportunity that might open up here in front between Palmieri and Terrell. Terrell again running a little bit wide into the apex of 17, and now this 2-car battle for the lead has turned into a 3-car battle, and it may soon turn into 4, with Dinarte just 1.3 seconds off the back in that yellow number 44 Mustang. He is just creeping up on the battle here for the lead of the race, and it might just turn into a 4-car battle soon. And after the pit stops, excuse me, absolutely anything can happen. Excuse me, folks, just had a quick interruption here, but nonetheless, this battle continues. Infante's McLaren number 1 fan. Infante was able to get through the positions pretty well there, finds himself now in 11th place. This battle for the lead is absolutely crazy. Jake Terrell running away in the BMW, has Palmieri chasing him behind. Then Ketch and Dinarte are so close to each other in the two Fords as well. This is really picking up here in the closing stages of the race, and Rushevich unfortunately there DNFing as well. Back into the pits is the 59 McLaren after working his way through the field pretty well. He was able to get through up into a good position, and nearly contact between the leaders going into the pit lane. But that is the pit stops here for the leaders. That means Greg Ketch will inherit the race lead in the 77 Mustang as he tries to go long, as we just now hit the halfway mark of the race. 22.5 minutes remaining. Greg Ketch, the overall leader now. O'Connor in second, Pfeiffer in third. Lots of action in the pit lane here. And of course in Le Mans Ultimate, there is no ghosting in the pit lane. So that is certainly another challenging aspect to the drivers, to make sure they enter their pit box correctly without damaging their car any further than they might potentially have on there. We've seen a bit of rubbing, but rubbing is racing, folks. But yeah, seen a bit of rubbing earlier in the races, so up to the drivers to decide whether they want to change or fix the damage acquired by their cars throughout the race, or whether they just want to continue on and not add that to their pit stop timer. Ketch in the lead, Ross O'Connor in second place, still yet to complete their pit stops here. Is it only the 4 makes, or is there just no AM, Corvette, or Porsche? Yes, it is in fact that way. There are no Aston Martins, Corvettes, or Porsches on the grid, but it is available for the drivers to select. But I know all 3 of those are DLC cars, as is the Ferrari and the BMW. So that is why we're seeing a good bit of McLarens, a good bit of Fords on the grid here. The 2 free cars, or included cars. I guess they were actually an added DLC, but they were a free DLC. But nonetheless, the 2 free ones, the McLaren and the Ford, making it a fairly popular choice amongst the grid. The BMW, I hear, is rated to be the best GT3 car in the current state of Le Mans Ultimate. But of course, that big announcement, or the big update announced, will just maybe change things up a little bit, and just to see how how things changed for there. But Palmieri was able to get the lead of the race after the pit stops. He's ahead of Terrell by 2.9 seconds. So he really came out the beneficiary after the pit stop, and we'll see where he comes out relative to Greg Ketch as well, the one Ford driver that did go long. So this will be very interesting to see where Ketch comes out relative to Terrell and Palmieri, the driver that was in the final podium position was Greg Ketch, and now Palmieri rounding out turn 16, and the pit exit will be at the pretty much at the end of this straight here. And it sounds like the Ford was moving there. So we'll see where Palmieri, I think Palmieri will be well clear of the Ford. And then Terrell here also able to clear the 77 Mustang. And it looks like there was a bit of trouble for him during the pit stop because Ross O'Connor was also able to sneak through and take 4th place away. Denarte sneaking through as well. So Denarte inherits the final podium position after the long pit stop from Greg Ketch. And now he has Escorcia for company behind in this battle for the last position in the top 5. A bit of an oversteer moment there from Greg, but still maintaining his position in 5th place. Perhaps just the tires not quite coming up to temperature just yet. But he has about 18.5 minutes to go to change his position. Ross O'Connor not too far in front. He's pretty close to the bumper of the Ferrari, but also has to worry about Escorcia behind in the number 70. And a bit further behind them, you've got Pfeiffer in 7th place, then Arct in 8th, Cruz in 9th, Infante able to get back into the top 10, then Finn in 11th, Martin in 12th, Hildenbrand in 13th, Zach Terrell in 14th, Williams in the pits currently, and then Rushevich, Rutzelainen, Wright, and Vasquez unfortunately DNFing from this race. Probably should have practiced before the race, lol. Rushevich here, yeah. Always helps to practice just a little bit, get used to the conditions, but hopefully not too much damage incurred to the wrists or anything like that, and you're able to just kind of walk away from that unscathed, and just a bit of, maybe just a little bit of damage to the ego, but that's about it. Anyone, we can all recover from that. But yeah, Sebring is not an easy track, with every corner kind of flowing into the next. If you get one wrong, you might get the next one wrong. Catch trying to sneak a move into the inside, but the Ferrari not having anything of it, just carrying on its normal racing line. We've got a yellow flag. No ego damage here. Lol, was expecting it to happen. Register in a car, I don't know. Yeah, fair enough. But hey, it's always fun to try new things out. Usually do 202's race pace in the Mustang here. Yeah, the Mustang seems to be the fairly quicker car, but it's not proven that way, because in the hands of Palmieri, the McLaren in the number 95 currently has the lead of the race, and it doesn't look like that lead is going down. It's maintaining right around that 2.5 second mark. It was at 2.8, just dropping and flowing right around that 2.7 second mark now. But this is the battle between O'Connor and Greg Ketch. A bit of a slip from the 54, and this really might allow the 77 to try and get that move down the inside of turn 10. The Ferrari covering it off, covers off the apex as well, and the Ford just having to stick to the bumper, nearly pushing the Ferrari through the track here as they go through Collier and into the braking zone of Tower. And the Ferrari once again really well at covering off the inside line, not allowing the Mustang to get the undercut done, using the cornering speed to its advantage. The Mustang looks like it has a great straight line speed advantage, once again forcing the Ferrari to take the defensive line through the S's here in 15, and the braking zone at Le Mans, really crucial for the Ferrari to get the exit right. Doesn't want to give any opportunity to the Ford, but it doesn't look like it matters because the Ford is right on the wing of the Ferrari. The Ferrari taking the defensive line once again, covering off the inside. The McLaren behind, also looking to pick up the scraps. The Ford pushing the Ferrari to the inside as far as it can go. The McLaren getting right on the wing of the Ford, trying to carry as much speed through the apex of 17 and out the exit, down to start finish straight they go to start another lap into turn 1. The Ferrari stays ahead of the Ford for the time being. And is it going to be that way for the remainder of the lap here at Sebring? 17 corners for Ross O'Connor to try to change, or excuse me, Ross O'Connor to hang on to the position. And just under 15 minutes left for Greg Ketch to try and improve into 4th and potentially close down the gap to Dinarte in front. And Escorcia in the McLaren, after a bit of a lull in the first half of his race, is now finding a bit of battles on track. Bumper to bumper, there's contact, spinning. The 54 Ferrari is now into the grass on the exit of the hairpin. We saw it there right up close. The bumper of the Ford just tapping the rear quarter panel of the Ferrari, and the Ferrari losing all of the weight on the rear, spinning it around and dropping back a few places as Ross O'Connor back to 7th place now has Pfeiffer in front in the 54 Ferrari, or in the 66 Ferrari, excuse me. Yeah, nothing he could do there. It was just the slightest little bit of taps. It really looked so innocent, and then all the weight was gone. And I wish I could get you a replay of that, my friend, but it's just a bit difficult to do with how the Le Mans Ultimate broadcasting graphics and stuff works. So not quite able to get a replay of that, but we can certainly take a look at that after the race in the broadcast and take a look at exactly what happened there between those two. Yeah, it just looked like the Ford was able to carry so much more cornering speed than the Ferrari in front, but the Ferrari doing everything it could to defend that line. And now Greg Ketch is released into a bit of clean air. Escorcia will really try to hang on to the tail of the Ford as best as he can to hope that the Ford makes a bit of a mistake and he is able to slide up into 4th, but nonetheless promoting both of these guys into a top 5 position after that contact with Ross O'Connor. Ross O'Connor will not be too fazed by that. We'll try to catch up to fellow Ferrari driver in front. There's a bit of a battle here between the 231s, Gelson Cruz and Arct, battling for 8th and 9th place out on track here. Evenly matched cars, but like we said earlier, one driver might be stronger in one sector than the other driver, but it looks like Arct hanging on to the position for the time being. Looked like he was going to shape up that defensive line, but not quite close enough was Gelson Cruz to make that move. And while these cars are battling, Infante in 10th place will be trying to get as close as he can to the bumper of these two BMWs to potentially capitalize on any sort of mishaps or tomfoolery that might happen ahead here between the two BMWs. Or perhaps even the two Ferraris up in 5th and 6th place as well. Palmieri maintaining that gap in front. It's right around 3 seconds now. It's just ebbing and flowing, seems like, depending on which sector of the track. But nonetheless, still Palmieri hanging on to the lead. Terrell in 2nd, Dinarte in 3rd. Ketch after that bit of contact between him and Ross O'Connor, up into 4th. Escorcia in 5th, Pfeiffer in 6th, holding on for the time being with Ross O'Connor not too far off. Then Arct and Cruz, 8th and 9th, battling it out between the two BMWs. Infante in 10th, Jake Finn in 11th, Martin in 12th, Hildenbrand in 13th, Williams in 14th, and Zach Terrell in 15th. The last of the runners out on track at the moment. Gap there opening up a little bit between the two BMWs, but it is closing between the two Ferraris. Ross O'Connor into the hairpin, very effective through the braking zone there. Very gingerly applying the power though, doesn't want to scrub those tires too much after maybe having a little bit of damage to the rear end, and the tires maybe picking up a little bit of damage after spinning, maybe a bit of flat spot on them as well. But he will try to close the gap to fellow Ferrari driver Brandon Pfeiffer in front, capitalizing on the Ross O'Connor spin from earlier, as he himself will try to climb up the ranks as best as he can in the closing 10 minutes of the race here. Once again, a big thanks to everybody joining us here tonight, from the drivers to all the supporters in the chat, all the admins as well. Big thanks to putting on this championship, getting the summer season started with a bang at Le Mans Ultimate. Here, racing around Sebring, the 3.65 mile track around Florida. IB Schofield, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you very much for the raid once again. Always happy to have your support here. Hope you had a lovely stream. And thank you for joining us in the closing stages of round 1 in the Friday GT3 Le Mans Ultimate Championship. Round 1 here at Sebring. 45-minute races in this 3-race championship. 15-minute qualifying beforehand. Oh, and a bit of oversteer from Dinarte. Maybe just showing off for the camera here. He has a good gap in front, good gap behind for that final podium position. Doing a bit of Tokyo drifting on the exit of the hairpin. Brandon Pfeiffer for the time being hanging on to that 6th place. Ross O'Connor, though, getting pretty close. A lot closer than we've seen before, within half a second. Two Ferraris might just come into battle here, with time ticking down in the in the season opener here at Sebring. Last 7 minutes, let the chaos unfold. Indeed, indeed. Let the chaos unfold. As usual, the first 10 minutes kind of provide a good bit of action with all the cars being so close out on track after the start. And then it kind of lulls out. The gaps kind of open up. They kind of close back a little bit in certain places. And then the pit stops happen and the gaps open up once again. And then in the closing stages of the race, absolutely everything heats right back up again. The two Ferraris here for 6th and 7th place battling it out, and not too far behind on the same back straight, we see Infante gaining on Gelson Cruz for 9th place. It's McLaren versus BMW for that final top 10 position. Who will it be? Will it be Infante, who currently occupies it, or will he be able to get by Gelson Cruz and move into 9th? Demote Cruz into that final top 10 position. And another battle just outside the top 10 here between Jake Finn in the 66 Ferrari and Zachary Martin in the 31 BMW. Oh, and it looks like Martin is going to sweep into the inside as Jake Finn, running a little bit wide at turn number 1. Looks like he's carrying a pretty significant amount of damage on the Ferrari as well, perhaps not able to have the same grip levels as he's used to, and that is the move done for Zach Martin. Gets himself up into 11th place, very effectively past Jake Finn. Now looking to try and close the gap ahead, but he has 10.5 seconds to try and close down to Infante for that final top 10 position. A little bit of an oversteer on the exit for the BMW as well. Will not let Jake Finn slide it too far back, as yeah, there's a pretty good crunched front end on that Ferrari there. Brandon Pfeiffer unfazed from the pressure from Ross O'Connor behind, pulling that gap to just around 1 second now, really not allowing Ross O'Connor any opportunity to send a move. If Pfeiffer perhaps run just that tad wide, but nonetheless not able to do anything about it for the time being, as Ross O'Connor maybe suffering from a bit of loss of grip as well after coming into contact from after having contact in the rear end, and it looks like he may have just touched the inside wall of the apex there as well. Maybe just heard a bit of rubbing, but not really picking up any bit of damage there. As he will try to gain on Pfeiffer in front, but at the same time, Arced in the 31 BMW is closing behind. Arced and Cruz, the two BMWs, were close on track, but now Arced finding his pace, able to get through, and Ross O'Connor having to go through the grass at turn 6. That might really give a good bit of an advantage to Arced in the BMW, as he is able to carry much more speed down that mini straightaway between turn 6 and the hairpin. And once again, Ross O'Connor seeming to struggle through the braking zones on those corner exits, again running a little bit wide at the hairpin. And Arced might just find himself stealing 7th place away from the Ferrari in front. It's a good battle here for 7th and 8th place. Just a few mistakes from Ross O'Connor, unfortunately, in that 54 Ferrari, really allowing Arced to get close and apply even more pressure than Ross O'Connor was facing before. Very close between the BMW and the Ferrari here. Ride with the front splitter of the BMW. This camera angle should give a good view of just how bumpy Sunset Bend is at turn 17. The Ferrari's rear end absolutely bouncing through the apex there. BMW getting really close, but just a slightly different line variation. It looks like the BMW carrying a lot more speed into the entry of the corner, and then the Ferrari able to get a good grip advantage on the exit instead, and pulling out that gap through the main straight, and a bit deep on the brakes into turn number 3. That will certainly alleviate a bit of pressure from the Ferrari in front. He is trying to catch up to Pfeiffer, and in the closing 2 minutes of the race, we'll just have, I believe we should have 2 laps to go. Palmieri here entering turn number 10, I believe that is. Now, nope, that was turn 13. Now going through turn 14 before the entry into the Le Mans complex at the end of the lap. So it will be this lap plus 1 more for any of the drivers to try and change their positions. Greg Ketch has closed the gap very, very effectively to Thiago Dinarte. It is within 1 second between the two Mustangs for that final podium position. And on the last lap of the race, we might get some action here for that final step of the podium. The two Mustangs evenly matched on track, so now it's just a driver versus driver comparison. Can Dinarte hold on to that final podium position, Or can Greg Ketch take it back after being there for the majority of the start of the race before the pit stops and having just that bit of a long stop, finding himself dropping back into 5th, but he was able to close down that gap very effectively within half a second. Now the two Fords, we'll see where this battle goes as they go through turn 3. The Mustang very effectively taking the curbing out of the equation as there are 0 minutes remaining in the race. The checkered flag will be waving for Palmieri as he goes around just a bit ahead of these two Fords, battling for that final podium position. Dinarte running a little bit deep into the hairpin, allowing Ketch just that little bit closer to the bumper of the Ford. A couple more heavy braking zones remaining for Ketch to do anything about Dinarte. Holding on to that final podium position, running a little bit wide into turn 10, though that's not going to help his chances. That gap now opening up to more than half a second. And there's going to be a 3-car battle behind as well between Pfeiffer O'Connor and Arct as they go through their final lap of the race here as well in round 1. Jacob Palmieri entering turn 16, exiting onto the back straight for the final time in the race. Not able to take the race lead from the start. A couple of battles between him and Terrell, finding himself momentarily in the lead before the pit stop. But after the pit stop, he opened up that gap to about 3 seconds and he never looked back. Rounding out Sunset Bend for the final time to take the race win in round 1. Jacob Palmieri takes the checkered flag, and he will be the race winner for the start of the summer season. Jake Terrell crossed the line in 2nd place. Thiago Dinarte hanging on to 3rd place as the two Fords come across the line. Escorcia in the top 5 in 5th place. And now the battle between the two Ferraris and the BMW of Arct, and it looks like it will remain as is. Pfeiffer across the line in 6th, O'Connor in 7th, Arct in 8th place. Not too far off, Gelson Cruz across the line in 9th, Infante recovering well up into a top 10 position. Up next is the 31 BMW, Zach Martin getting a good move done on Jake Finn into turn 1. We saw that earlier, and he himself is now across the line taking the checkered flag in 12th place. Joshua Hildenbrand going through the final sector here. Chandler Williams and Zach Terrell, both across the line in 14th and 15th. And Hildenbrand here, the last driver out on track to take the checkered flag. Had a bit of everything in that race. Nearly position change for the lead at the start. Good battles all throughout the top 10 and further down. A few unfortunate DNFs there. We saw Rushevich, Rutsalainen, Wright, and Vasquez, and a DNS from internet issues earlier. But nonetheless, that is race 1 done and dusted here at Sebring International Raceway. I'd like to invite our podium sitters to the green room for a quick chat about your race, just to see how things went from your guys' perspective. But once again, congrats to Palmieri for the race win. Terrell in 2nd, Dinarte 3rd, Ketch in 4th, Escorcia 5th, Pfeiffer 6th, O'Connor in 7th, Arct in 8th, Cruz in 9th, Infante 10th, Martin 11th, Finn 12th, 13th was Hildenbrand, Williams in 14th, Zach Terrell in 15th, Rushevich, Rutsalainen, Wright, Vasquez 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th with that DNF next to their name. But nonetheless, I'm sure they will be back strong next week for round 2 at Spa. Let's take it back here to our lovely Trackalicious studio. See if our podium sitters are here with us in the green room. We will see just what is going on. P2 in the green room. Bring in our good friend, Jake Terrell, here to the fray. Jake, how are you doing, my friend? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. I'm doing pretty good. That was a heck of a race, let me tell you.
Yeah, it had a bit of everything. I was just saying at the end there, you were able to hold on to that race lead after a good push from Palmieri at the start of the race there. Talk us through that race start.
The race start was just being just aggressive enough and not relinquishing too much track position to hold him off, and we went side by side for about a half a lap, if I remember.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess he came under pressure from the car behind or something like that, and then I was able to pull a little bit of a gap. And then the gap came back down when I realized I need to fuel save a little bit. And then we started battling again. He took the position. He messed up. I was able to take position back, and then we went into the pits, and I made a miscalculation on my virtual energy, and it ultimately cost me a few valuable seconds. And we were so evenly paced throughout the entire race that I feel like if I had a better pit stop, there might have been a chance I could have brought it home. He also got a little bit luckier with the small bit of traffic we did have to drive around. But amazing props to Jacob. That was a hell of a race. I did way better than I thought I would with a pole position qualifying and the fastest lap of the race. And I don't care what anybody says. It was a 201. It was a 201.
Oh, I 100% agree. I was saying it through the process. Yeah, I said it. He snuck into the 201s, but it doesn't matter how you do it. As long as there's a 1 in there, it counts.
Yeah, you can't take it away from me. But,
you can't take that away. Yeah. So yeah, good. But nonetheless, yeah, it was. It seemed like the BMW from the beginning. It was looking like in the chat. We've got one of your friends saying Jake is ass. In the chat here.
Yeah.
So yeah, always good to see the banter between the friends here.
Yeah. I love the boys. I had Jace in the race. He had an unfortunate start, and he tapped out. And then this was also my buddy Joshua's first league race and my brother's first league race, Sectorial.
Heck yeah.
Like they did better than I would have hoped. They finished the race. That's all that mattered to me. Is that they finished the race.
Everybody's got to start somewhere.
Yeah, my brother's he's like, I'm not in last place technically. And I'm like, no, you're not in last place at all. You got to think about it. You finished the race. You didn't quit. And so I'm proud of them for making it to the end.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, it's always good to see the checkered flag at the end. And like I said, yeah, you got to start somewhere. And here, Tracklicious is a really good place to start. Everybody's always welcome to sign up for all the leagues that we've got going on. Le Mans Ultimate, especially being a very new game, that it's very hard to get mad at people, especially with how new the game is. It's just everybody's getting used to how it feels compared to all the other sims they might be coming from. It's just a whole different thing to get used to. But it's fun doing it with a good group of friends, like you said.
Yeah, that's the thing about LMU as well, is generally the close racing is very clean. I have better experience in LMU than I do in ACC. I kind of have a curse on my shoulder with ACC, but the racing's been great fun. For the few seasons that I've been a part of, I've had a blast, and being able to put up that much of a fight tonight, definitely good confidence booster. I was not coming into this race confident that I'd be where I was, but is what it is, and I had a lot of fun tonight.
Yeah, same here. There was battles all throughout the grid from the top to the bottom, and you guys really put on a show at the front. Thanks for joining in the stream. Hopefully find yourself on the top step next time. You never know what spot can bring up next. And yeah, congrats. Still a strong result. Getting into those 201s. Good qualifying. Fastest lap.
You can't take it away from me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Fastest lap, qualifying, good performance. Just a bit unlucky in the race, and that's just how it goes sometimes. But I'm sure you know that, being a pretty veteran driver here. And yeah, thanks again for joining us. Thanks again. Happy to. Yeah. We'll catch you next time. And that is the conclusion of the summer season. Or not the summer season, that is the conclusion of round 1 at the beginning of the summer season. We are just getting started here, folks. 3-round championship here in Le Mans Ultimate in the GT3s. On Monday, we pick it back up with the ACC rookies in the GT4s. Tuesdays, we're back to Le Mans Ultimate in the mixed hypercar and GT3 championship. Wednesdays, we've got a multi-class in ACC, the GT3s and the GT4s. Switching it up to iRacing, it is that same format, I believe, the GT3s and the GT4s for the iRacing Championship on Thursdays. Then on Fridays here, we've got the Le Mans Ultimate Series, and on Sundays, the ACC GT3 Championship. All signups are open on SimGrid to all. Always happy to have you here at Trackalicious. Thank you very much to everybody doing all the work in the background. Get everything set up for these lovely, lovely summer championships we have ahead. Can't believe Eric wouldn't let us put Bathurst for rookies round 1. Yeah, that would have been quite wild, but I'm sure Bathurst will be on that calendar still. Always fun to see that on the calendar. Thank you again to everybody joining us in the chat. Always happy to have you tag along, provide a little bit of insight. Perhaps you guys are in the voice chat with some of the drivers, so you guys get a bit of knowledge that we don't quite get in the studio here. And yeah, big thank you to everybody who subscribed, followed along as well. Big donation earlier as well. So huge thank you to everybody supporting us here at Trackalicious. Thank you for letting me broadcast to all you guys. Really looking forward to what the summer will bring. And speaking of follows, there's one more from Stratcher. Thank you. We're really looking forward to what the summer brings. Hope we will see you out on track, out in the chat. Let's get ourselves a lovely little raid set up. Let's go from one Le Mans streamer. I wouldn't call myself a Le Mans streamer, but let's go from one Le Mans thing to another. Let's give our friend at 2 Slow Motorsports a raid. Practicing in some Le Mans Ultimate. Show the love from Trackalicious. Make sure to tell them we sent you. Show the love from one sim racing community to another. Happy Friday to everybody. Hope to see you all in the next championships, the next rounds of all the summer, of all that summer has to bring. Thank you once again for everybody joining us. Thank you to everybody for the love and support, and we will catch you all next time.